Hello, this is Lisa Russick.
And Donna Murphy.
At the podcast, we're all psychic, and something's making me bubble in my stomach and esophagus. Anyway, today we have Scott back, and I am very excited about that. Scott, hello, and how are you doing?
Hi, great to be back, and nice to meet Donna. So, I know, Lisa, in the past, you're just a great open book and inquiry-laden person.
And you are too. And I want to say thank you for coming back to the show again. And I have to ask you, do you still think we're all psychic?
Yeah, even more so. I mean, it's almost like, doing math. Like you grow up and you just start doing math. And being psychic is the same. Yeah, it's the same. And then you just develop your math skills. You can develop your psychic skills.
I agree.
And so, 2 years ago, if somebody said, "Are you psychic?" I'd say no. And if they said, "Are you, a medium? Can you talk to people that past?" I go, hard no. But now, like on all counts, it's happened to me. I'm not a practitioner, but I feel very comfortable in those areas.
Mm-hmm. So that's very funny that you said that, because I just read that somewhere probably about 2 hours ago about you in this book, Awkward Awakening. I'm going right for it, man, because you did say that in this book about, you would say 2 years ago, no way.
Yes, right.
And then now you're like, it's not about spirituality. And I thought that was really cool that you said it in the book too. I just read it, so I thought that was weird. And I didn't read the whole book yet, but I've been skimming through and doing different things. And I love that. And listeners and watchers, the book is called Awkward Awakening, and that is like the coolest title. And we were talking about the interior and the cover, and it was all designed by someone he knows. And if you're watching on Spotify or YouTube, you can see that layout. That layout is beautiful. Mm-hmm. And he not only goes into his own experiences, but he goes into the Galactic Republic, which I love. So that's really interesting to me. We can talk about that some if you want to. But so what inspired you to write this book?
Well, I had co-authored the Looking for Angels book with Nicole, and that launched in 23.
And that's Nicole from A Psychic Story, listeners and watchers.
Yes, Nicole Bigley.
Right? Yeah, they were on there. You were on the show to talk about that book. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, and so. I was going along that, you promote as much funding that you have, you go on podcasts and try and do the best you can. So for 23 and the beginning of 24, kind of doing that, but things were starting to kind of slow down for me on the promotional side. And then I kind of felt like, there's something else there's something else, I didn't know what it was. I thought maybe a book, but I wasn't sure. So the catalyst was that I had booked a Akashic record reading with Melissa Sparrow,
I read
energy
that in there,
healer. Yeah. And so, like 3 months, in advance. She was 3 months in advance. And so, I just did that. I never had a reading before, an Akashic record reading. And so I was just, in the back of my head, just, someday, I'll get it, So then, months went by, and I'm like, still, I had this thing, like something. I'm called. I felt like I was called to do something, but I had no idea what. So I got an email from the Gaia organization, the spiritual scientific platform, wonderful group, and they were advertising a trip to Egypt in like September of that year. So this was like the summer of the same year. Okay. And so I was like, I don't know. It's a lot of money. It was 12 days. I don't know. And I wasn't going to go with I didn't know anybody to go with. So I just go by myself with the group. And they were saying, for early registrants, you get like 10% off. Right. And so this is a Wednesday.
That's a big deal going to Egypt.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it was a lot of money. Yeah. So I think it was, like Tuesday or Wednesday of the week. And they had to, they needed to know by Friday. right? So like, oh, geez, I don't know. So then that Wednesday, I had the reading. That was the reading that I had scheduled. Oh,
Listeners, we had an interruption. Scott, would you like
Yes,
to
we did.
continue?
We had a brief interruption.
Brief,
Okay.
very brief.
Okay, so I had the Akashic Record reading. I hadn't been in one before, so she just does her reading, and it was fascinating, past lives, what I was doing, and I had heard some of this before on other readings, and she said, "Oh, your mom and dad are here," and they had passed in 2020, and I'm like, okay, I'm always a little bit, a little skeptic, but
Yeah.
conversations back and forth between my mom and her and Melissa, like, oh, absolutely, this is mom,
That's so
and
cool.
mom says, you're gonna go on a trip. You're thinking about a trip. And I'm like, wow, that's kind of cool. But then I thought, well, okay, that's kind of ambiguous. A trip where, And then Melissa said, why did I write down the word Gaia on my notepad? I'm like, oh, that's it. That's it. And then my guides and the Akashic Record staff said, kind of gave me the download, like not the downloading content, but just like what's happening. She said, you're given a scroll. You're going to write a book. Do you know what it's about? And I said, I don't know. I said, maybe awakening. It's just, that's it. That is it. There are bells all over the place. It's about awakening. And it's going to start when you go to Egypt. Oh. And, then like about 3 weeks later, I go, and it was just the feeling and the connection was just off the charts for me.
Right. I have people at Cosmic Connections where I work in Nashville who take a trip like to Egypt. I think they do it each year. And they just did their trip. I wonder if you were on the same trip. I don't know, but it was like a 2 week. I think it was like a week and a half long trip, and all about it was a spiritual trip, and it was I would love to have done it, but I can't afford that kind of stuff yet.
Yeah. So So basically, when I went, the minute I was there, I felt like at home, and I tell people it's like if you could go back to your kindergarten class, your classroom, and then walk back, you're like, oh yeah, everything's here. You're like everything's just the way I left it. So you get that feeling, and then in addition was like an energetic type of thing, and I felt like I had two ends of an extension cord. And I just plugged them together, and just the in a sense, like voltage just kind of just brought me to some level I had never been before. And so then I was just making connections. I was seeing very clearly other lives I'd been in, and mainly a teacher, the teaching, instructing, and writing, common theme. And then I started just getting the idea of awakening, and then like, okay, fine, what about it, in my mind? And then I started getting the context, which is to be a guide to people who are new, new to the idea, new ideas about who we really are, our divine nature, our multidimensional nature, and then and where we're headed as a species, as a planet. And just amazing. So it's one of those things, how's it happen? Well, I don't know if you ever had that, proverbial 3 o'clock in the morning, you get an idea, or two, and you go, okay, great. I get that, and then you have an idea, then you have a sentence, then you have an outline, and then like, oh, I'm
a writer, and Donna's a writer. We both know exactly what you're talking about.
It's like, because then it's like, I got to get my phone out. I got to take
notes. Make some notes so I don't forget this stuff.
So between that and then just being guided, I had been automatic writing at times, not continuous chapters and chapters, but just guidance as far as where to go, and that's how it all kind of came to play. So, the book was revealed to me in 3 parts. Understanding, awakening to who we really are, and then awakening to our place in the universe, as well. So it's like once we understand who we are, our divine connection, that we're all hologram, we're all part of God. That's when really the fascinating stuff happened with our galactic neighbors. Is that I kind of got the map of what's going to happen, and so the idea is that once the collective vibration of the planet Earth raises to a certain level, and we understand our oneness. We understand we are, we are one group, one collective consciousness. That's when in a sense, it's going to be safe. Our extraterrestrial neighbors will deem us safe, to come and have an open contact, meaning, it'll be visible for everyone. We'll set up, maybe teams and groups to interact with extraterrestrials, to exchange knowledge, resources, commerce. That is all going to explode on that end.
Do you think it'll be in our lifetime?
I don't know. Some people say. Some people have definite says yes, 2 years, the first contact. I don't know because, and even Bashar, who, Daryl Anka, who channels Bashar, the Asanati, for years. He's pretty popular on social media. But he's been saying that when we get to that level, that's what's going to happen.
Okay.
And so he said, so, and interesting, I have this in the book, we have to be ready. We have to prepare ourselves. And so he said, and I quoted, that somebody said, why aren't they contacting us now? And I have a chapter on that.
Yeah.
And the one answer that he gave was that Bashar said, why would we want to land our spaceships in an insane asylum where everyone has guns? So we have some growing up to do.
They're not all actually Superman, are they?
Right.
From Krypton.
So I use the book is made to be as a primer. For ET 101 in a sense, for somebody
That's what
who
I got from that too, and a personal kind of connection to that. Each person's personal connection to that is kind of open to me when I read through this. I love that.
And part of the discussion is, I think a key thing is modern day sources. Like where do we get our information from? You know, and if someone, so and that was the one thing when I was going through developing it, I was just astounded at so many people and channelers and people contacting not only angels and deities, but extraterrestrials, not TikTok BS. But people have been doing this for 20, 30, 40 years.
At least.
And writing books. And just unbelievable to me. And to say, like for people to say like, oh, that's just ridiculous. How can you take
without knowing anything about it, of course,
Yeah. Yeah. And then my thing is, and then I take a little pokes because I did go to seminary for, I was 3 out of 4 years I was there, but I take some pokes and they're like, hey, the New Testament, the bulk of the New Testament was written by one person, the Apostle Paul. And how does he say he got his information? He says, literally, it was God breathed, the word, inspired by God. And so that's one person. And we think like, oh, that's it, And so I gently kind of move people to say, all right, you may not be there yet, but you have to at least listen. You don't have to. It would be very good to at least listen, open your mind and listen to what these people have to say, because there's so much continuity on this.
And there's nothing but goodness on the other side of that conversation.
Right.
Happiness, peace.
So, that's kind of the part. And that is the awkwardness. That's the awkwardness. And I start out the book with Copernicus. I love talking about that, where, he was like, I just don't think that the sun, revolves around the earth. I just don't think that, and he knew what trouble he would be in.
Big,
Yeah.
And so
big.
that's why he waited until his deathbed to publish his book. And then, Giordano Bruno got assassinated. Galileo got house in prison for and I say this is human nature.
Yeah.
We don't take change. We don't take new information easily. So,
Well, some of us do, but the ones who control don't want anything to change because then they won't control anymore.
Right. Yes.
Most likely.
Right. When establishing and maintaining power is the goal.
Yeah. Yes.
Then there's no way for openness to be a part of that because again, anything could change that. Anything.
Right.
And so that there's an automatic closing down. Plus now, maybe more than ever. I don't know. I wasn't around centuries ago, but
are you sure?
Well, that I can recall right at this moment. But there's so much noise. And there's so much desire for, attention, right? Look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. And so, trying to kind of find your way through that thicket, through that dense underbrush.
It's a lot of energy to work through. Because people are projecting this big energy out,
Yeah.
So you can't figure out who's yours, what your feelings are sometimes,
Yeah, and I think for a lot of people, it's overwhelming and it's much easier. I mean, the easy way is to just shut it all down and go, you know what? I think all of that is BS. Because then it clears some mental space.
Right.
Even though it's probably not, it probably is not in that person's benefit, although maybe in that moment, that's the only way they can even deal. So it's just shut all that down. I don't want anything to do with that. I don't want to know any more about it because all it's doing is confusing me or overwhelming me or whatever. And, as the old saying goes, a confused mind says no.
That's true. Yeah.
So there's so many topics that I was kind of given, and then I set it up not only in the text but in the chat and the references. I have the references, and then I have suggested readings because you could take any one, like our multidimensional nature. You could write books just on that, but I wanted to give people not only.
It looks like there's a taste of everything and really good basics and a little bit more. Stuff too.
Yeah. So it not only helps people who have a truly inquiring mind, but for people those of us who are kind of have a little more insight of things in the spirit world, I think it will provide some background so you can feel better, talking about these things to other people, like they say, oh, you're just talking about, Lisa Royal Holt, she's just a channeler, and, all channelers are hooking, So then they say, no, okay, well, let's see. Well, where did all the sacred scriptures come from? Where, the Apostle Paul thing, it's just a matter of what we choose to believe. And that there is a shift away from organized religion.
There is.
And I have the whole chapter
There's a good
on
reason
that.
for it.
Yeah. And it's time.
Nobody has the money to afford a church anymore, honestly.
Oh, yes, you're right. Right. They can't run it.
They can't afford to tithe or however churches ask for money.
Yeah.
Right. However, they
usually it's a
themselves.
basket at the services or whatever.
Yeah.
Write checks.
But there are people but then there's congregants who tithe. There's people who attend services regularly and contribute that way.
And they are asked by their religious leaders to donate. And in the South anyway, where I was raised, mostly, people look to see what you put in the basket.
Well, and I think it's important not to totally bash, not to bash organized religion because there are good things in it.
It can help a lot of people get through a lot of hard things.
And for a while I got so turned off by the conservative Christian movement that I was a part of. I just left and said, I can't believe this. it is not unconditional love. They're not teaching that, And actually, I had an experience in Egypt that kind of brought me full circle on that. But we have to watch that because there are some generally, good people, good spirited people that just love, and they go to a good church and, and all that, that's fine. And they can even get into these things. They can be clairvoyants and practitioners and go to their church because there is some good things about it. So I have to remind myself, I started to remind myself because I found I was like, no, we're moving on. There's no, blah, blah, blah. So,
yeah, I wouldn't say that there's no place for it. I do know that it will undergo a lot of changes, probably just like everything else.
Well, yeah.
And again, one is the financial, what Lisa brought up, the financial consideration, but also surprisingly enough to me, I have a dear friend who's attended a church locally that, basically he kept encouraging me, well, just check it out. Just listen to what a service is like, or come to a service, which I did. And all spring and summer, they actually hold service. I live in a suburb of Chicago, so we're right on Lake Michigan.
Oh, okay.
And I'm in the far northern suburbs. So there's a beautiful beach. Lake Forest, Lake Bluff are the communities, and there's a beautiful beach. And all spring and summer, they actually hold services on the beach.
Oh, nice.
In one of the, how they have the enclosure, just like you see at parks and stuff.
Yeah.
It's an open building, but it's a building. You're in a, you don't have to sit in the sand on a towel. Not that that would be bad, but sometimes it's more comfortable to actually sit in a chair on a floor. They are very down to earth. They're, it's a very warm,
loving,
accepting, and relaxed environment. It's not very formal at all, and yet it is very structured. And they have and one of the benefits, I think, because I have a lot of respect for him. I've heard a lot of his sermons, listened to him speak. They have a wonderful pastor, And so, when you have an experience like that, you can say, you know what, I can see something like that.
That is good. I've never had an experience like that. Yeah.
This is probably the first experience I've had like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, believe me, as far as skepticism or hesitance about involvement in organized religion, we won't go into it, but I had plenty of reason to kind of hold back. And not, and kind of be like, oh no, that's not for me. But no, this is this is one of the exceptions. Definitely one of the exceptions.
Nice. So
it can exist. I think it can exist in the way that as I understand the teachings of Christianity, that was the idea.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and Christ consciousness is a real thing.
Yes. And so it can, I definitely think it can exist and does exist.
And then the other thing, and I'm just, cut me off if I'm.
Stop talking.
Stop talking.
I'm just kidding.
The other thing that's
You're
important.
Doing great. Don't stop.
Don't stop talking. We love it. We're just quiet listening. It's great. You're a good speaker.
The other thing, so we have the shift, like just people for a variety of reasons, moving away from organized religion, seeking spirituality, and there's numbers to prove, and show
it's
all
happening
that.
everywhere. But why? Yeah. What do you think really other than COVID? Is there anything other than COVID instigating?
Well, they have the, certainly the scandals, huge, and
people getting away with them. Yeah.
Yeah, and somebody said that there isn't one denomination, one religion that isn't free of any scandal. Even there was some Buddhist thing a few years ago.
It's every
So it is
people.
Yes, right. That's because humans are. So you have all that. You have the internet, and increased individual people saying, "I can learn, I can experience on myself." But the outside influences are what I was kind of fascinated with, and it started with some astrology, which I'm not that big on astrology, but when I started looking into the Pluto entering Aquarius, and like, so any astrologer like Pluto and Aquarius, like, and then like, okay, well, what happened the last time? So every 250 years, Pluto comes around in Aquarius, and there's 20 years of unrest. Right,
unrest is a good
time.
way to put it. That's a polite way to put it.
So then you say, well, okay, and then somebody mapped out, or no, maybe I did. Oh no, I had I asked an astrologer to do it. He mapped out, and he's like, well, the last 250-year cycle was the American Revolution, the French Revolution, the Industrial Revolution, right? And then the time before that, what was it? The Protestant Reformation, the King Henry,
the Renaissance, wasn't it? Wasn't the Renaissance during the Aquarius?
I think so. Yes, I think so.
I'm not positive. I thought it was.
And then, so then the time before that, the Reformation, and then Copernicus, published his findings, changed everything. And then the church, King Henry VIII broke away from the Catholic Church.
The Anglican Church.
of England. So, and then there's the third one back is a little not as defined, but in any case, that starts making sense. Then I learned about the yugas. Right? You know about the yugas? The
no, it's a yuga.
Yuga.
No,
okay. All right. So it's fascinating. And science knows this. The geophysicists know this, that the Earth wobbles. So it's tilted on its axis, but it wobbles just like a top. When it slows down, it starts wobbling. And so if you take a beam of light and shoot it out into the space from the North Pole, as you would guess, that wobble creates a circle in the sky. So the ancient Hindus knew this, and they also knew that it took 29,000 years for that circle to go around. And so they divided it into 4 parts, 4 yugas. And the first 2 yugas, we're coming to the end of the second yuga, so in a sense, say the bottom of the second yuga, the Kali Yuga. And the Kali, the first and second yuga were times of winter, fall and winter, a dormant time, a dark time where the light and warmth is not around. And then they predicted that coming out of the Kali Yuga into the Sati Yuga, the third, is going to be the beginning of a tremendous time of unity, of positivity, of oneness. And then that's going to go into the next one. So it'll be like a spring and summer yuga, and that'll last 14,000 years. So we're starting the phase of 14,000 years of positivity and light.
That makes me very happy.
And here's the thing.
That's right.
Here's the thing. The key thing is that the transition period, the transition time from the Kali Yuga to the Sati Yuga is characterized by exposure of corruption, tumultuous times, a knocking down of foundational structures, both physically and
that's why
societally.
We're happy.
That's why. So it begins like that's what's happening now. Then I'm like, okay, fine. Then you have the Mayan calendar, and remember everybody's going around. The end of the Mayan calendar.
Yeah.
That was only the 13th back turn. Where it started right after that was the reset of the Mayan calendar to the 14th. And guess what? The transition from the 13th to the 14th is explosion of corruption, tumultuous time, evil exposed.
So in different parts of the world, they all have the same storyline.
Yes, all Wait till you hear the end of this.
Oh, okay.
So then, and it's the same thing. The 14th is a time of spiritual awakening. Blah 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 blah. And then you have the Hopi Indians, American Indians. They talk about the Great Purification, and then you talk in the New Testament. You have the New Earth, and both Islam and Christianity have talking about transformation. They don't get into timing, but they say that it's coming. So I'm reading all this, and then I'm reading a number of books by Lisa Royal Holt, who's a channeler for, again, 30 years. She had a couple groups that she channeled, and one of them was a fifth dimensional Palladian female named Satya. Sasha. And so one book that she wrote, I think Preparing for another one, I forget which one, was pretty much channeled through, by Sasha to her. And Sasha said the same exact thing, agreed, we're going through different parts, in a sense saying the yugas are real and we're coming out of the winter, we're going into the spring and summer. And so you have ancient Hindus, American Indians,
and then this person,
and then you have extraterrestrials.
And other people are saying that too, though.
Yeah,
I've heard.
And not only that, almost every energy worker, and astrologer saying so many things about it, about that's what's happening, and what we are experiencing now is the storm before the calm. Right?
Yes, that's what I've always read about, and I think the Chinese have a similar belief system as well.
That's true. I didn't even look into that.
I have read about it. It was a long time ago when I read about that, but listeners and watchers read about that. It's interesting. They do have a lot of. Well, they have a different calendar, but they have a lot of the same kinds of predictions with their astrology and their numerology and all this kind of stuff that the Western ones do, but theirs are more detailed in some ways, because they're not the center in a lot of the stories that they have with their astrology, because
right,
the Western side is causing all the problems, from what they see.
So that's to me that makes for me it was very compelling and moving to say this is what's happening, and do what I can do to get a book out to say okay, this is what's happening.
That's not the only thing you're doing. You're getting on podcasts, you're getting the word out, and you help people one-on-one and do all kinds of good stuff, Scott. So thank you for the book, and thank you for another book, I should say. Woo, love your books.
And then the extraterrestrials is a whole other thing. It's kind of a different part, but it belonged. I almost thought of not including it, but it was just. It
really gives it a punch.
Because it's going to be coming out, so the main thing for linear 3D people, the whistleblower laws that came into play during the Biden administration is really protecting people in the military specifically to come out and say, hey, there's stuff going on that no one knew for 30 years. A crash retrieval, program, of alien technology, alien biologics for 30 years that no one's known about it. And then in September there was a first kind of wave. This fellow Gresh was the first one, and when you're a whistleblower, you can't just go and testify and here it is. No, you've got to hire a lawyer. You've got to present your data. You've got to show how you have been mistreated and ridiculed and held back in your job because you asked to tell you think somebody should, that you were told to stop talking about it, but you wanted to. And so that was one wave. And then in September, another 3 military people came forward. One of them, stated that she was threatened by she and her daughter's life, saying, do not talk about this anymore. And so you have that kind of coming out, and it's creeping into mainstream media now, just UFOs and so we're getting primed, So that was the other thing I want to mention. I forgot was that in terms of dates, I'd say smart people don't give dates because there's this thing called free will. Humans, we need to get ourselves to a certain level, and it's our choice. It's our choice.
It is our choice.
So, but everyone does say that it's a done deal. I was listening to a podcast. I don't know if you knew. Did you know William Meyer? He's a podcaster, very, very sensitive psychic. And he was interviewing Rachel Corpus, who is an angel communicator.
I know who she is, yeah.
Yeah. So I was listening to this, and they were talking, and of course, Rachel was talking about the ascension and what's happening, and William said, well, so she was channeling the Sarai. Sarai, a very large non-physical group of a collection of ETs, spirits, angels, well, not angels, but spirits and stuff. And they're talking, and then he said, what should we do? How should we prepare? And Rachel said, hold on. They said that we should hand this question over to the angelic realm. And it just kind of floored me. Like, what are we in a status meeting here? Like, let's hear from the delivery department.
Like a meeting,
but
have to bump that over to another department.
Like, what? And so, sure enough, she, and of course, believe it, Archangel Gabriel came in and spoke to us through to the listeners through her, and saying that again, same types of things, have hope. And the main message was that Earth has tried before and has not achieved ascension. And they didn't say it, but I'm thinking like of Atlantis and
those floods, Lemuria,
but they said this time it's done. Gaia is there, and what that means exactly, I'm not, sure. That
Gaia is the Earth. It's a spiritual Earth, but that's about all I know.
As a conscious,
I guess she's ready to change things around. Is what
yes, as a consciousness, that we're all kind of tapped into.
It's her third 13,000 cycle, so she's right. So she's ready to spring it up.
Yeah, and they said it is done. It is written. She said many spiritual beings are celebrating that. Yes, it's done. Cool. And then it came to me when I was explaining it. It's sort of like when you go, suppose you were going to build a house. And from nothing, and you do the architect work, you contract, whatever, and you sign a contract saying this house is going to be built. Mm-hmm. That's what this is like. It's going to happen. So, and so you just have to wait. So what when it's going to happen, I don't know. There's like I mentioned, there's 26, 27, who knows?
It'll be exciting. We can't know it all. Otherwise, what would be the point? We experience it to really have it change us and in time, and have us alter our perceptions and our feelings and our spirits, and really accept, wow, there's aliens in the world. It's like in reality and see them and whatever, if that happens in our life. Yeah. That'd be so exciting if it does. So Scott, where can the listeners and watchers find you? What's your website? Where are you?
Well, my website is angelintraining.org.
Okay.
The book, and then it has my other books, and then I have a separate website for the book called awkwardawakening.com. And for your listeners, if you'd like, if you go to the awkwardawakening.com, you can get a signed book if you put a discount code awakening. It'll give you the book at my cost. Like $10.
Awakening, guys.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Yeah, that's the coupon.
Put that in a nice discount code. It's really a great deal, guys.
Yeah, what a nice gift.
So, other than that, I really don't know what's going to happen with the book, with what I'm going to,
You're going to write another book and another book, or
maybe,
write a screenplay. I don't know. You'll do more. And more, I'm sure. You don't like to sit still, I don't think, unless you're meditating. And I'd like to thank you, and I'd like to thank our sponsor, Everclear. Everclear is an advice app and website where you can get advice from psychics and empaths, so you can get the clarity you need to create the life you deserve. And Donna and I are both on that platform as psychic advisors. And Donna is Maria M, and I am Lisa Russick. And Scott, lastly, I'd love to ask for some advice. I think I did ask about for authors the first time or one of the times you were on, but I wanted to ask for someone who's like wanting to write a spiritual book, but they've never put themselves out there before, and they've studied, they have friends they talk to maybe, but no one in their family knows or anything, and they really want to write about their a memoir maybe and what they've learned from their spiritual awakening or experiences. What kind of advice would you give them to build the confidence to not worry about what other people think of what their writing is and judging them?
Well, you have to live your authentic self.
It's hard to do sometimes.
It's hard to do. It's hard to
people
do
breathing down
because
your
we're
neck
all
and judging you, and you're an empath, and you can feel it. You know, like
yeah. But I think that is a big part of our purpose in our lives here is to learn, to evolve, to be that. So and then certainly that's easier said than done. I was just at a holiday party with my family and did not go well. They're just not into any of this stuff. They thought my spirit animal was a demon and that I worship demons. It was horrible.
I'm sorry.
But we left okay. We left, we left cordial, and there was no, yelling and screaming, but it's hard. And you have to, in the awakening process, you may have to leave some things behind. Whether it be little things, little habits, little this or that, or it might be relationships. And so you have to my advice would be keep grounded, keep on your path, and keep feeding your light, no matter what the cost.
That's beautiful.
No matter what the cost.
Yeah.
Because it's going to happen now, or you'll be back in another lifetime just right where you are now until you go through it.
Pretty much that's the consensus. That's what I hear. So that's what I think.
Yeah.
But thank you very much. This is just a great interview, Scott. You're just such a great speaker, and I really appreciate you coming back. And you can come back anytime, as always. Next book, just feel like it.
I appreciate the work that you guys do. I know it's a lot to put these things together, and
I love doing it. It's
do a
fun.
good job.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. It's not work. It's fun.
It is fun. It is fun. And thank you, Donna, for being co-host. And I guess listeners and watchers, I love you. And Scott, do you love the listeners and the watchers?
Absolutely. Yes.
Absolutely. Everybody loves the listeners and the watchers. Why would you be here if you didn't?
We're all on the same page.
We're all on the same page of a book that's called Offered Awakening. And my page is 26 because that's about 71. Okay. Sorry. It's like, I want to read that. Thank you, listeners and watchers. We love you. Have a great time wherever you may be, night, day, morning, another planet. Peace out. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.